Hi, Carl. Alex. Hey, Blaze. What's up, guys? Who likes bags of money? Hands up if you like bags of money, money bags, because this is the show for you tonight. If so, welcome to Let's Go Live, everyone. And we have an incredible guest who's going to be with us in just a few seconds. He is, let me turn this down. He's a big time investor. He is a money guru, the money guru. I'll go as far as to say he's put out 17 books. He is a star on Clubhouse. Every time you see him on Clubhouse, his rooms are jam-packed. He's garnered, I think it's about 100,000 followers in just a few weeks on Clubhouse because he's the man you have to hear from if you want to be the best entrepreneur that you can be and if you want to be a millionaire or even a billionaire. Okay, let's say hi to a few more people. We've got Lloyd. What's up, Lloyd? Reese Cole. Alexander S. Pisces TV. I love your art, by the way. Absolutely love it. So shout out to you. My cats are wrecking the place back there. Let me see if I can find Rob. I think he's here. Hold on. View request. Yeah. Rob should be popping up any second now as things crash down around me. Here he is.
Hey, Sharon. How are you?
Rob Moore. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks for doing this. I'm excited. I just came off Clubhouse, funnily enough.
I know you did because you're on there 24/7. You are, and your room is. You're always in there, so thank you for taking the time to be on this show. And the last time I saw you, it was over a year ago. You were interviewing me in the UK in Guildford, where my family lives, for your hit podcast, The Disruptive Entrepreneur. So I like the fact that we're switching things around this time.
Yeah, I had a great time. You've got an amazing story. And I love your work. Obviously, we've been following each other ever since. I follow you closely on Instagram. I love what you do.
Yeah, and I love what you do as well. And you're just inspiring people all over the world. It's crazy. I want to talk to you first just about how things have obviously changed so much since we last saw each other. And you're giving such great advice to people, and we'll get into this later, but such great advice in terms of how to make it through the pandemic and, you know, pandemic proof ways of making money. But talk to me about your personal experience with the pandemic, because I haven't really heard much about that from you, and how you've been impacted and how you've been able to sort of make it through and find a silver lining at that.
Yeah. So I remember sitting having dinner with someone who I was looking to becoming a partner in our company. And she said, the world is going to go on lockdown. We're going to be quarantined. And I said, no chance. And a few weeks later, it happened. So I went through the stages of change, first of which is delusion. But actually, at that time, we would run about 850 event days a year. That would generate us anywhere between 15 and 21 million pounds in one of our companies, our training company. Wow. So actually, you know, the prospect of having no events was very real and very scary for us. Yeah. And there were times when we thought, whoa, we might be wiped out here. We might have to, we had nearly 100 staff, 90 something staff at the time. And this isn't in all of my companies. This is just this one. Yeah. And I actually sat in the kitchen because the offices were so busy with my MD and my business partner, and we had a laptop open and we went through all of the staff members essentially saying, keep, let go, keep, let go. And it was probably one of the most humbling and least fun experiences I've ever had in business. Thankfully, they brought the furlough in. Yeah. And then we immediately brought the ones we let go back onto furlough. So that was good.
Amazing.
And long story really short, Sharon, is we went on a very fast process to convert a lot of our face-to-face courses online. Yeah. Now, it would take us 9 months to create a course end to end. And we were doing them one a week online because I just said to my team, you have to react so fast. If you're not fast, then, you know, we could get left behind here. Wow. I mean, actually now we're 300% more profitable. We're a global training company now. And, you know, things are good. There's always the concern that next month it'll be hard. And we don't take anything for granted. But, you know, I mean, my podcast downloads have gone up 35% since the lockdown, and Clubhouse as well. Yeah. So, Yeah, look, I like change. A lot of people are scared of change. I
Yeah,
like change. I
yeah.
feel like when there's change, a lot of people struggle, and I feel like that's my chance to step up as a disruptive entrepreneur and prove that I've got something about me. But it was scary for a while, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, but it's about getting extra creative and innovative, right? I think everyone has it in them. I want to ask you about your two-time world records or two world records that you hold for public speaking. Tell us about that, like longest public speaking marathon or something.
Yeah,
Because you're,
so I am. Yeah,
I
I
was just
broke.
gonna say, I, was, sorry. I just
No
wanted
good.
to add, like you're incredible at speaking, because you can actually get an encyclopedia's worth of information in 30 seconds, a 30-second video. But go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
Not at all. Yeah, I broke the world record for the longest individual speech, which was 47 and a half hours straight. And then I broke the world record for the team speech, which was 140 something hours straight. You know, people often say, "Hey, Rob, what did you talk about for that long?" Property and business and personal development. I love talking about those. I could probably talk about those for
Oh,
250 hours straight.
wow.
Do you know what I thought it would? Yeah, exactly. Paula's just said there, can't shut him up.
Yeah.
You are right about that. I will give you that one. I do love to share what I've learned. I do love to help inspire other people to become entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
sharing some of the strategies and tactics that I've learned. It's way more fun than, like, you know, managing tenants in my properties or legal or financial or operation or stuff in the company that I find a bit boring.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it was actually one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I interviewed David Goggins, and he did his whole interview, and of course he's done crazy stuff. And I
Yeah.
told him when the cameras were off about this, and he was really impressed. He's like, "Whoa, dude!" And yeah, I lost my voice second day. Just nothing was coming out of my mouth, even though I was
Oh my
talking.
gosh.
Had out of body experiences and visions. I was so delusional, and like, because of not just lacking sleep for 2 days, but all the talking constantly, your mouth drying up so bad, your throat like feeling like it's bleeding. I just thought it'd
Oh
be
my
easy.
gosh.
I know.
I
Because I do
can't even
so much public
imagine.
speaking, I thought it'd be easy. I was completely wrong.
48 hours, you thought that was going to be easy. I don't know how. I had to talk for 3 hours. When we tape our podcast, we do it for 3 hours, and I thought that was a long time. 48 hours. Did you get any? I guess you didn't get any sleep. There was no break. It was just straight all the way through for 48 hours. My goodness.
Yeah, I
Respect for
think it
that.
was 40. I think it was 46 and a half. I think I broke the record by quite a few hours. Yeah. And we
That's
raised £120,000 for charity as well, I think. So
Oh,
that's
that's
obviously a nice thing.
amazing.
Yeah.
So it was worth the bleeding throats after all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, it was.
You are super, super generous with your knowledge on Clubhouse, as you said. You answer everyone's questions on there, entrepreneurs, business people, and investors, and across all your platforms. So, why do you love giving out so much information? And secondly, is there sort of a line that you draw where it's like, okay, this is free, this you gotta pay for? Because I gotta make some money from this too.
Yes. So there's a few comments about my hair. I would just like to say I'm taking advantage of the lockdown to pull off my 18-year-old self look here.
I think it looks quite chic, Rob.
Oh, thank you. It's retro.
Yeah, it's very
um,
retro, kind of punk
yeah.
rock.
Yeah. So, yeah, sorry, I got distracted. Remind me of the question, Sharon.
Yeah, the fact that you're just so generous with all of your knowledge and you're just giving out so much knowledge for free. But where do you sort of draw the line and say, okay, this is free, but at this point, okay, you got to pay for that?
Yeah, so I'm happy whenever asked a question, whether it's on Instagram or Clubhouse or Facebook, I'm happy to share what I learn and what I know.
Yeah,
Um, when people might want to pay is when they might want to read some of my books, like Money or Life Leverage.
yeah,
And I think what I can do for people is give them a very good, broad selection of knowledge: podcasting, starting your business, social media, especially
yeah.
Clubhouse and podcasting, building a personal brand, writing books, managing a company, hiring staff, outsourcing. But of course, to go really deep on those subjects, Sharon, it's 2 or 3 or 4 days worth of content. So once they've gone really sort of wide from me and decided, actually, do you know what? I want to be a property investor. Then they can get a property book of mine and then start. And then from there, then they would go on a property course. So I think I'll answer any question and I'll go as deep as people like. And once people have decided on the strategy that they want, that's when they should learn deep. And then there's one other thing is I believe that accountability in the form of mentorship or masterminds is as important as education, because to know and not to do is not to know. And when all is said and done, more is said than done. So a lot of people
hold on. I think that went over my head a little bit. So say that one more time for those who didn't quite catch that, me.
Yeah, so to know and not to do is not to know.
Yeah.
And when all is said and done, more is said than done.
Yeah.
So actually, many of the programs that people invest in with me and my companies are mastermind programs, mentorship programs, and coaching programs.
Okay.
Because there's a massive difference between reading a book or educating yourself on something in theory, but then actually going out and implementing it in practice. So that's somewhere else where people might invest in masterminds and mentors and coaches with my companies.
Got it. Makes complete sense. So I'm going to put you to the 10 and 10 challenge in a second. 10 random and revealing questions. They're not actually that random this time, but kind of random. But before we get into it, you've talked a lot about entrepreneurs versus intrapreneurs. And just so we all know which category we fall into, because I think I might be an intrapreneur, but tell us what each of those things is before we get into the main part.
Sure. So an entrepreneur is someone who starts their own business and takes risks in the hope of profit. And an intrapreneur is someone who works within the organization that the entrepreneur set up in a leadership role. So, you know, Steve Jobs is an entrepreneur, but Tim Cook is an intrapreneur because he took the company over and he's got a leadership role, but he didn't start the company and take the risk. So that's the difference between. And by the way, neither are better or worse. I like taking risks. I like being the boss. I like being able to make fast decisions without having any, you know, oh, I can't do it because the board said this or they said that.
Yeah.
But some people don't want to take the risk. They might be in their 40s, 50s, have children.
Yeah.
So, you know, getting an MD role or a CEO role or a leader role in an existing company, that can actually be a really good move.
Got it. Okay, so maybe I'm not an entrepreneur, or maybe I think I'm a bit of both, because I work for companies. I get paid by companies, but then I also have my own business as well. So I guess I'm a bit of both, right?
Yeah, you could be. You could be, I suppose, well, you're probably more of an entrepreneur, because even if you consult for others, it's still your company.
Yeah.
Maybe you could be a hybrid. It's kind of cheating. I reckon you're more of an entrepreneur, Sharon. I think you've got that
entrepreneur. Okay, we'll go with entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, so let's get into the 10 and 10 challenge. Are you ready for question number 1? It's kind of a weird question, but if a genie granted you 3 wishes right now, what would your wishes be?
I'd want better education across the world in schools around money and entrepreneurship.
Because there's barely any.
Yeah,
at a young age. Yeah.
Exactly, and not budgeting and money management and managing your money emotions and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely want that, because that's my foundation. That's our mission, to help young and underprivileged people start meaningful businesses to change the world and get better financial education out to the, you know, to the globe. That would be one wish. That would be my selfless wish.
Okay. What's the selfish one?
Well, I'm quite fortunate. I've got all the cars and houses and toys that I want.
Yeah. You've got an incredible car collection, by the way.
I'm okay on that front. Maybe I have unlimited budget at Alexander McQueen. This is an Alexander McQueen jacket. I love Alex. There you go. That's my selfish one. I've got unlimited budget, VIP access, shareholding in Alexander McQueen.
Yeah.
And then the other one is, I just wish that we move on from this lockdown and that families are safe and people are safe and people who are struggling at home and homeschooling and all of that. My wife's friend, who's also the parents of a friend of my daughter's in her year at school, her husband just died today of COVID, and it's really awful.
Sorry.
And honestly, it felt so, you know, it is starting to really touch people now, in that before no one really knew anyone, and now most people have got a story of someone. And I just feel sorry for like single mums, you know, and people who are isolated. I'm lucky I've got a family, so even though it's a bit weird, I'm lucky. So that'd be my third wish.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good mix. A diverse range of wishes you've got there.
But you know what? Like unlimited Alexander McQueen. That is my dream, Sharon.
Oh,
so
yeah,
awesome.
he's incredible. Is it still Sarah Burton over there?
Yeah, I don't know actually.
Person. Okay.
Not sure who's now heading up the design.
Yeah.
I'd love to interview her for my podcast. So it's definitely a female.
So you totally should. You totally should. All right, great. Question number 2. So as accomplished as you are, what has been the biggest fear that you've had to face in life? How did you face it and how did it turn out?
My biggest fear in life is something happening that's bad to my children. That's my biggest fear. And on probably a daily basis, I get a little butterfly in my stomach that something might happen to them. So that's my greatest fear. My greatest fear in business is probably failing and letting down thousands of clients and thousands or hundreds of thousands of people who had faith and belief in me.
Yeah.
I know I would come back, and I know I would come back stronger, but that would maybe be my greatest fear in business.
Yeah. Is that something that keeps you up at night, or for the most part you don't think about it too much?
No, it's there in the background just enough to say, hey Rob, stay humble, keep looking and after and focusing on the right things, don't get too ahead of yourself, treat people well. So it's there, but it doesn't overwhelm me. I've learned to manage it. You have to take risks as an entrepreneur. You have to risk time and money and your reputation to be successful. You can't just go,
Yeah, because you always say, one of your favorite sayings is, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything.
Boom! You nailed it.
Right there, which brings me to question number 3, I believe. Yeah, so you're constantly, giving out these fantastic, really powerful quotes that mean a lot. I'm going to give you 4 of my favorites, and then if you can elaborate on them, that would be awesome. So the first one is, start now and get perfect later. Yeah,
I actually wrote a book called Start Now, Get Perfect Later.
Oh, did you?
That is the title of my book.
That. I know a good headline when I see one. A good
title. You do. What that means is, don't let perfectionism become a curse to you.
Yeah.
Don't want to be so perfect or be so scared of making a mistake that you never start. And that was me before I was an entrepreneur, when I was an artist. And most people, that is them, in that they're just too worried about what people will think about them, or failing or looking stupid. And then therefore they never actually go for their dreams and start that business and do that thing that they want to do.
It's so funny you say that, because I have definitely faced that myself. Even doing this Instagram live show, because I always just had it in my head, no, when I go on camera, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be, the full-on production, mics, camera guys, perfect lighting. And it really took a while for me to push through and start really utilizing social media and being okay with the fact that it's going to be kind of rough around the edges, so totally relate to that one. Yeah. Okay. So quote number 2, being patient is not always a virtue. Is that a book too?
That would be a great title for a book. I haven't written that book, but that'd be a great title.
That's coming next.
Yeah. When you're an entrepreneur, you have to be a go-getter. So, there's the saying, build it and they will come. Yeah. That wasn't my experience in business for a few years. Build it and then go and grab everyone and pull them over.
Yeah.
So, you took time and put lots of content out there, Sharon, to build a great Instagram following. Yeah. So I would say sometimes you've got to be impatient. You've got to be demanding. You've got to expect more from other people than they expect of themselves, and then they'll step up to a new level. So yeah, I think, look, there's some things that you can't speed up. Like if you plant a seed, when you come back the next day, you'd be silly to expect a tree to be there.
Yeah.
And you can't make a tree grow any quicker than a tree will grow. So certain things you have to let take their own time. But when it comes to business and sales and marketing and getting clients and growing your impact, be impatient.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm a very impatient person, so I can relate to that. So, okay. Number 3, if you seek criticism, you own it. If you avoid criticism, it owns you.
Yeah.
Blimey.
I said, I'm sure I said that. Yeah,
You did.
Right. Yeah, I thought so.
The other day, actually.
Yeah. So if you avoid criticism, that means you do nothing, be nothing, and are nothing. Because you cannot not have criticism unless you sit in a dark room and no one sees you and no one knows you.
Yeah.
So when you avoid it, you become nothing and no one. But when you actively seek it, like what could I do better and how could I improve? And you embrace the critics. You might have noticed a few of the little comments that come in, I try and bring them in and have a bit of fun, because I don't want to avoid criticism or, a little bit of banter or even a bit of trolling, as long as it's not bullying. That's the line, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't accept that, report that. Because, I knew Caroline, who,
Caroline Flack from
Ireland.
Yeah.
So so there's the line, know the line. But actually, if you actively seek criticism, your critics actually respect you more, and you learn more from your critics than you do your fans, because your fans will go, yeah, love you, Sharon, yeah, love you, Sharon. But your critic will go, when you said that, Sharon, or did that, I think you could improve here. Yeah. So, seek out that criticism. Feedback is the breakfast of champions.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes you sort of have to figure out the difference, right, between constructive criticism and, people who are just hating and being overly critical, because that can be tough to sort of figure out.
100%.
Yeah. All right, good. And then this is the last quote: hate solves nothing. We were just talking about bullying. There are a lot of haters out there. There are a lot of people who don't like people who are successful, specifically rich people.
Yeah, you're right. What does hate do? I mean, if anyone experiences hate, they're the one suffering. The person that you're hating doesn't suffer. You feel the hate, not them.
Yeah.
And I think that hate doesn't bring out the best in people. I think it makes them do and say things that actually, when that emotion has gone, they probably regret. So you're right. Hate solves nothing other than to create more hate. Yeah. We don't need more hate in the world. We need more probably support. So I completely agree with that. And if you are hating, just know that you're probably hurting. I try and have some sympathy with people who are hating, because I know they're probably hurting.
Yeah.
And there's a saying which I really like, which is hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
So if you're getting hate yourself and you're receiving it, try and go, that person's probably hurting. They don't know me. They're just judging me from their life and what they're going through. And therefore, hopefully you can just let go of the hate. It's not my business if someone hates me. It's not my problem. It's theirs. Also, don't take any hate or criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from.
Yeah, that's a good one. And so before you curse anyone out on Twitter, you know what I've done before? I've actually sent very sweet messages to the people who have been most hateful. And then suddenly they're your biggest fan, following you, like supporting you in everything you do. So sometimes it's just to get that attention, isn't it?
100%. They want to be heard.
Yeah.
And some people don't entertain hate because they're like, you give a fire oxygen, it burns. And I get that as well. I think it depends on yourself. If you take hate really badly or personally, you probably want to block it and ignore it on social media. But if you're fairly self-aware and you can manage your emotions more, maybe you could do what you did, Sharon, which is see if they're all right and engage with some a little bit and see if you can help people.
Yeah. Good advice. Good advice. So question number 4, the pandemic obviously has left so many people floundering financially. Businesses are closing. People are out of work. Is there, do you think, something that you've seen as the biggest mistake that people are making right now at this time, financially and business wise?
I think not adapting to the changing market,
Yeah.
and maybe hoping and waiting for this to be over and spending all their time reading the news and asking when we're going to be out of furlough and when the kids can go back to school and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
instead of thinking, what's the new opportunity? What are the new markets? What are the new models? You know, for example, e-commerce is booming. Delivery is, in some instances, booming. Information is booming. Way more people are on social media doing things like this, Sharon. So the biggest mistake would be to see this as all downside, and the biggest opportunity is see what the new upside is.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say are your sort of biggest pandemic-proof money-making tips? What are the businesses to get into and invest in?
Yeah, I would definitely say information.
Yeah.
So setting up an online course or a mastermind or mentoring program on something that you know really well or you're really passionate about. It's easier than ever to turn your passion into your profession.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I would say that's one way. E-commerce, you know, there's some things to figure out. Don't let me, you know, these aren't easy, but they're simple compared to like retail, which obviously is really hurt right now.
Yeah.
So, you know, anything that leverages the internet and reaching a global audience. So e-commerce, maybe arbitraging some products or white labeling in e-commerce, that would definitely be good. When we're out of this, property prices are likely to correct. So there might be a good time to get into property after the lockdown, maybe.
Yeah.
Some people in the comments have been saying, you know, trading or crypto, or I think they're very volatile. I'd probably only do that if you really knew what you were doing.
Okay, yeah, because crypto is something I still haven't figured out yet. I think I need to be in a few more Clubhouse rooms.
Yes.
But some of them, I know you have to choose those wisely. We'll get to that in a second. So question number 5. So you were actually a struggling artist when you were in your 20s. You were working for your dad at his pub nights and weekends. And then you ended up racking up this debt of £50,000, which is like $70,000. Somehow you managed to turn things around and become a millionaire by the time you were 31, which is incredibly impressive. So talk to me about, how do you think like a millionaire? What does that take?
I think that you've got to understand how to manage money and not let money rule you. So when I was in debt, I didn't earn good money, but I didn't earn nothing. I earned enough to save, but I'd always go and spend my money on clothes. Clothes was my great weakness then. If I earned £200 a week,
still is now.
Yeah, it is. Still is now. But I can afford it now, Sharon. I can afford a £3,000 Alexander McQueen jacket, whereas I couldn't back then.
So is that how you got in debt? From the clothes?
Well, I used to get paid 200 quid a week, and I go straight down to the designer clothes shop and spend most of it. Yeah.
Wow.
I know we all have our vices, but
we do.
I didn't know how to manage money, and I didn't know how to manage my emotions around money. So when I was elated, I would buy things with my money. And when I was depressed, I would buy things with my money, and I would buy liabilities rather than assets.
Yeah.
And then when I read some books and went on some seminars and got a better education, I would make sure when I was emotional, either high or low, I kept my wallet in my pocket, and I'd make sure I bought things that appreciated in value or didn't depreciate in value. So one of the cars in my car collection is a Ferrari Testarossa, 1987. 12,000 miles. That will not go down. In fact, that's already gone up. I have a Panamera Turbo S as my daily driver. That was 175,000, but I bought it 5 months old, and therefore the 30 odd thousand depreciation the woman before me had.
That's not the one that blows your face all the way back.
No, that's the Aerial Atom, but I have one of those as well.
Okay.
But again, the new Aerial Atom is 75 grand. I paid 40 for mine, so that won't go down.
Yeah.
I like hi-fi, and I have a hi-fi that's about £250,000, something like that. But if I sold it today, it'd be £250,000 that I'd get back for it.
Yeah.
So anything I buy, I try and make sure, because I've learned how to manage money better, make sure it doesn't depreciate. I invest in property, which appreciates in value. So the thought around money is very different now, and I won't buy anything unless occasionally gifts for yourself, of course.
Yeah.
But I'll buy things at the bottom of the depreciation curve, or I'll buy assets, whereas I used to buy liability. So that's the main thing around money, because actually, even if you only earn $5,000 a month, but you spent $4,000 a month, $1,000 saved a month for 12 months, and then invested, for a 4% or 5% compounded return in 20, 30 years, you're going to end up financially free, and you'll be able to retire, because compounding can be very powerful the longer it goes.
Yeah.
So look, money is a very complicated subject. I wrote a long book called Money, all about money.
Yeah.
But learning how to manage money and not being emotional around your spending is probably the main thing.
Do you think there's a difference between thinking like a millionaire and thinking like a billionaire?
Yeah, definitely.
What
I think there's also a difference between thinking like a millionaire and thinking like a zeroaire. So there's definitely a difference.
Yeah.
So let's do zeroaire to millionaire. So the difference is definitely deserving. Like, when you get to a millionaire level, usually you'll feel that you're worth that. But a billionaire usually has feelings of deserving of opulence and grandeur, not necessarily showy. A billionaire will have ideas or desire to scale on a global level, whereas a millionaire might not have as big a vision. So I've interviewed loads of billionaires, and usually their discussions are, I will change the world by X. So my friend Naveen Jain is a billionaire. He wants to develop an interplanetary society. So his vision is to get us inhabiting other planets. He's got a license to mine on the moon. I interviewed Jim Mellon.
Wait, he has a license already?
He's the only person on the planet to have a license to mine the moon.
Wow. When is he going to get started?
Well, this is it, you see. This is the billionaire thought process. It's just way bigger. It blows your mind. Jim Mellon, he reckons in 10 years that there will be no farming of meat, and his company and companies like him will be lab growing all meat.
Yeah.
So he's not just thinking sell a few products.
Yeah.
He's thinking every person on the planet not eating meat in 10 years and lab growing meat.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
So billionaires think globally. Millionaires probably think locally stroke nationally, maybe. Yeah. Zeroaires just think about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. Fantastic advice. Okay. All right. So question number 6. So you've become quite the star on Clubhouse, right? You've racked up almost 100,000 followers in a couple of weeks. I mean, does anyone else have that record? I don't know. But if you had to choose just one social media platform that works best for you, which one would you go for? You had to get rid of the rest. You can only keep one. Which one would it be?
It would have to be Clubhouse. And it's hard because my podcast reaches millions. And I have 3,000 supporters who pay a monthly revenue in my Facebook groups.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love them. But the curve of growth on Clubhouse is exponential, and I've not seen anything like it. It took me 10 days to overtake my Twitter, 30 days to overtake my Instagram, 35 days to overtake my YouTube. And I've been working on them for years, Sharon, years. Because I've never done any hacking or paid for growth or anything. It's just all organic.
Yeah.
So I'd probably say Clubhouse. Now, I'm going to be a bit cheeky here. Okay. If I had Clubhouse, I'd record some of the content I do and I'd put them on my podcast. And of course, in Clubhouse, you use the DMs in Instagram, because there's no DMs on Clubhouse. So Clubhouse will actually get you doing podcasts and Instagram too. I mean, my Instagram following is going up a few hundred a day, whereas it used to go up a few hundred a week because of Clubhouse.
Because of Clubhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, because the only DM, Clubhouse links to Instagram and it doesn't have a DM feature. Yeah. So people are using Instagram as the DM feature.
Got it. And I know you've spoken about this before, but I'm just going to ask you again, how do you really utilize it to the sort of best of its potential? Because I'm someone, I've been on Clubhouse for a couple of months and I have not done that at all. I've jumped into a couple of rooms here and there. I ended up on a panel about relationships just randomly the other day. But for the most part, I haven't really utilized it the way I know I could. But just in general, for those who are watching, who maybe are on there, who aren't yet, what's the best thing that we can do with Clubhouse? How do we get the most out of it?
Well, first thing, Sharon, is if I'm ever doing any rooms, jump in and I'll get you up on the panel and I'll give you an intro.
Okay, okay. I know you tried to do that the other day, and I was in Starbucks. I was like, "Oh, Rob's gonna kill me."
Yeah.
Because I was like, maybe later. I was ordering like a pistachio latte at the time, and it was just noisy, and I was
That's all right.
Next
time.
And I hadn't even spoken in there before.
Yeah.
So I was, Now I guess you can just go up and say, "Hey guys, I'm in Starbucks right now, but I'll be back in a second."
Yeah, you can decline.
Yeah.
I just want to shout out my good friend Farrokh, who's watching the live. He's become a Clubhouse buddy of mine, and we've done loads of rooms. So Farrokh.
Hi Farrokh. Yes, I've seen Farrokh in there. I've heard him speaking. Yeah, great moderator.
So Farrokh, let's commit to this to Sharon now. Whenever we see you in any of our rooms, Sharon, we're going to pull you up.
Thank you.
And we're going to get you on the stage and we're going to shout you out and share the love.
Aww,
so basically getting up onto the stage and being a moderator and being able to share your experience in what you do, that will help you grow your reach. Okay. Starting to run all your own rooms, Sharon. So if you want some support, hit me up. Farrokh and I'll run a room with you. We'll get 1,000 in there.
Let's do it. I would love to do that with you guys. Maybe on the entertainment industry or something.
Yes.
Like business of entertainment.
Yes. Farrokh,
and we can get some people in. Like, some filmmakers.
Yeah, because actually collaborations work really well in Clubhouse, because in many other social media platforms, people are competitive. Yeah. But, teaming up with a few people and doing rooms on Clubhouse, you all bring extra people, and it means you can all have a conversation, because it's hard to talk on Clubhouse for a few hours. So we'll definitely do that. So here are a few tips. Number one, start your own rooms. Okay. Number two, collab with a few people in your industry and do it together. Number three, go in all the rooms that you're interested in. And if you know anyone, DM them and say, "Hey, look, I'm here. If you want to bring me up on stage," or like I said, Farrokh and I'll bring you up on stage. And, we'll pay it forward and we'll share the love. And then once you're a moderator in a few rooms, you can go into many rooms and people will moderate you. And then whenever you get a chance to speak, just say something interesting, useful, educational, that helps people, and then your following will grow. And once your following gets to a certain size, it starts to compound. Like my following is sort of about between 3,500 and 5,000 a day. It grows organically.
Wow.
Pretty good.
That's incredible.
Like I wake up in the morning and I check
another
all
world
my followers.
record.
Yeah, it's mad.
Yeah.
So there's a few tips for you, and we'll support you, Sharon.
Oh, thank you. How would you say that you avoid the pitfalls? Because I've noticed there are rooms where you end up with a lot of tension between people and misinformation sometimes. So how can people sort of avoid ending up in those situations?
Don't go in those rooms.
Sometimes you don't know till you're in there, but leave quietly. True. Right? Just tap the leave quietly button. Yeah.
So, look, there's a few drama queens in there that love the drama. Drama is obviously, you're in the entertainment industry, drama. It brings all the eyeballs, it gets all the discussions. I 99% of the time stay away from it. Yeah. Occasionally, there's someone that you've got to avoid. So you just have to avoid them. But run your own rooms and create your own culture.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Good advice. Question number 7. So one point you always manage to drive home really well is finding balance, right? It's not just all about work and making money. You got to find balance. You've been able to do that. You have a beautiful wife, 2 incredible kids. But was it always like that for you? Because you had asked me, when you interviewed me, you asked me what kind of strain it's put on relationships, being someone who's so focused on her career and an entrepreneur. Is that something that you also went through, where there was a lot of strain on certain relationships because you were putting in so much time and effort?
Yes. So there have definitely been times when I have been too focused on my business and my wife has been too focused on the kids, and we've not given each other enough time and attention. And we've had 2 times maybe in our relationship where that put major strain on us.
Yeah.
And I'm really pleased to say that we got through it. But we both should have made more time for each other. I get addicted to work. Gemma, my wife, sees, her role as looking after the children and doing her thing.
Yeah.
And there'd be times where I'd be living in a parallel universe and we would just sort of see each other getting up and going to bed, and that was it. And when we make each other more of a focus, then our relationship is much better for it. And by the way, this can be when you're single or when you're in a relationship, because when you're single, make some time to go and try and connect with people and meet people. It's the same thing. But, where focus goes, energy flows and results show. So whatever you focus on, it will tend to grow. Whatever you don't focus on will tend to decay. Mm-hmm. But entrepreneurship can consume you. And a year or 2 or 3 years later, you're like, bloody hell, I've hardly seen my kids. And, I haven't got a good relationship with my wife. I'm not giving her enough attention. What a lot of people do in entrepreneurship is go, I want someone who knows that business is the most important thing to me, and I want someone who likes me. No, you've got to give them attention too. And what about what they want? So us entrepreneurs in relationships can sometimes be a bit too selfish. Mm-hmm. And I've definitely been that guy, and I don't want to be that guy. So making sure I spend time with my kids and my family, it's really important. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't hold down a relationship in the first couple of years of being an entrepreneur, because I would just spend so much time on that. I never really had any time for them, and that probably wasn't fair or right.
Do you think it takes a certain type of person and personality to go out with an entrepreneur and to marry an entrepreneur?
Oh, well, it depends what type of entrepreneur. Because there are different types. So you're asking me, so I'm like a disruptive entrepreneur. I love business, love entrepreneurship. I'm somewhat obsessive about it. I consume myself in it, which a lot of entrepreneurs are. So let's make that as the stereotype. Yeah, we're very difficult to have a relationship. I feel sorry for my wife. I feel sorry for anyone that might have had a relationship with me. I'm sorry for everything I've done. Yeah. I mean, I won't speak out of turn, but when we had the interview with you, Sharon, you had a nicer way of putting it, but you had a similar conversation.
Yeah.
We're not easy to go out with. No, we're demanding, and we focus so much on the business. Where does this person get a look in? What about me?
Yeah.
And I've probably softened on that over the years. My wife has stuck by me through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And she knew me when I wasn't successful and liked me then, and, likes me now. And she put up with me, and I've changed. And a lot of people won't stay in a relationship when people have changed. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, I made a load more money, so that probably makes it a little bit more attractive. But I have changed. Incentive. I've grown. I've done new stuff. So, do you know what? Someone just said beautiful teeth, sister. I think you've got the best teeth I've ever seen, Sharon. I think she's right. Yeah. She's not saying it to me.
Wait, you've got a nice, some nice teeth there as well, some nice grills. They look very straight and very white.
Yeah, it's the light.
You brush those twice a day.
No, yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're hard.
Wow, I can tell.
Entrepreneurs are hard. We are hard. I will admit it.
So do you think the balance comes at a certain point where you've reached a certain level of success? Can you have that balance earlier on when you're working your way up?
You can if you want to, because you put your time into what's important to you.
Yeah.
So if it's really important for you to be in a relationship, you'll find time for it.
But it's really going to affect the business.
Yeah. Because remember, where focus goes, energy flows and results show. Yeah. So if you're hot on the dating scene, you won't be making as much money. If you're all in on the business, your dating life will be rubbish. Yeah. And you just got to think about what's important to you. So maybe if you're a bit out of balance, you just need to put a bit more time into one or the other. Okay. And you can actually mix business and pleasure. So, go on Clubhouse, go on social media, try and meet people gently, of course, through business and through networking. You could do that because, that person might understand us crazy entrepreneurs a bit more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, good one. All right, so question number 8. You spend so much time guiding others, right? Giving this fantastic advice as you are right now. Is there anything you need guidance in? Do you go to a mentor or to any sort of a guide? Yeah, in what area?
So yeah, I actually got a therapist about 18 months ago
Hmm.
because I was feeling quite lonely, actually, Sharon. Um, Business looked really good from the outside. I was making a lot of money,
Yeah.
um, but I didn't really feel understood. And some people close to me, I just didn't feel really noticed me, and there was a lot of pressure on me to deliver, but it was a bit relentless, and didn't feel a massive amount of gratitude. And to be honest, a lot of that was in my head as well as being real.
Yeah.
So I've always had coaches and mentors, Sharon. Dr. John DeMartini, I've learned so much from. I've had billionaire and 100 millionaire mentors. People like James Carr from Dragon's Den mentored
Mm.
me. And that's been really valuable.
Is he the
Um,
tall guy? He's the tall guy, right?
he's the, I think he's
Or the
got
older guy?
Indian. No, that's Peter Jones, the really
Okay.
tall guy you're
Okay, yeah,
thinking
yeah.
of. Yeah, James Carr's the smooth guy with, I think he's got some Indian roots.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Like me, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so um, I've always had coaches and mentors while I've been successful.
Mm.
And then I decided that actually a therapist might get in my head a little bit more. And actually, just the talking out of how I felt, feeling lonely. Um, Sorry, my battery power. Let me just plug
Oh,
the
oh, okay, yeah,
charger
we
in.
lost you for a sec. I'm like,
Yeah,
uh-oh.
just, yeah, we're good.
Okay,
So,
good.
yeah, actually having people to talk to, and having peers as well as mentors. Like if you were ever struggling and I was on the end of a phone to you and vice versa, just to listen, that would really help too.
Yeah,
I think entrepreneurs often suffer alone. I think we think that people think that we've got our shit together, and
yeah,
we don't want to let that guard down by being honest when we're really struggling. And
yeah,
I'm pretty good at, like, I know nothing about the entertainment industry, so I'd have no problem asking for your help, Sharon.
yeah.
But let's say it was podcasting or business, I'd be a bit more scared about asking for help because you might think, well, Rob, you're supposed to know that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
even in areas that we're supposed to know, like look at Robin Williams, the comedian who, committed suicide.
yeah,
Even in areas we're perceived highly in others, we can struggle. And the strength is in asking for help and getting advice and support and mentorship and therapy, or doing landmark, like someone has said here, or personal development. That, the strength is in that vulnerability to say, hey, look, I'm struggling. I haven't got it together. I need
yeah,
help.
yeah. It can be a lonely place for sure. Okay, so question number 9. You have some savvy strategies when it comes to percentage breakdowns of where you use your time and how you use your money, right? So when you make money, this is what you should do with it: save, invest, etc. Put it back into the company. Can you break that down for us? First, I want to start with making money, and then in terms of creating a diverse array of streams of income, you also have a percentage breakdown there as well.
Yes, I do. So I have a few models which, if you follow them, whether sooner or later you'll become successful if you follow them.
Yeah.
So the multiple streams of income one is called 70-20-10.
Okay.
So people always want multiple streams of income. Who wouldn't? But if you try and set up 5 different businesses straight away, you're going to be spread way too thin. And 5 businesses would assume 20% of your time, 20, 20, 20, 20.
Mm-hmm.
But if you build 2 to 3 to start, and you spend 70% of your working time in your main strategy, and then 20% in your second, and then 10% in a future or a third one, your first one you'll be putting enough time in it for it to grow and mature, and for you to systemize it and get the income stream more predictable. And then when you do that, you systemize that, and then you move the 20% into the 70% and the 10 into the 20.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of doing 3 things, 1/3 each, do one thing 70% of your time, the second thing 20%, and the third thing 10%, and that will work. So for example, you might do property investing, your main thing, and you might do like coaching and mentoring as your second thing. Okay. 70% in property, 20% in coaching and mentoring. Now, money bucketing, or how you divide your money up.
Yeah.
This depends how much you earn versus how much you spend. So let's assume you're quite good with your money. And if you're quite good with your money, you probably will save 20%.
Mm.
And if someone's listening and they're like, oh, I'm saving nothing because I'm spending it all, your first target should be 10%. So if you earn $3,000, you should be spending no more than $2,700 and saving $300. That'd be 10%. But let's say you're earning $5,000 and you're saving $1,000. So 80% you're spending and 20% you're saving. You would have a save and never touch account. You would have a savings account and an investing account. Now, if you want to start tithing or giving away money early because you think that's a good thing, you'd have a tithing account as well. So you'd go 80% spend, and then you go 5% save and never touch, 5% save, 5% invest, 5% tithe.
What's the difference between save and never touch?
So save is money that you'll save, but then you'll invest it once it gets to a certain level.
Okay.
Because if you think about interest rates being 0.1% or even less, if you save money in the bank, that's going to actually go down with inflation. So you should always target your savings to build them enough to invest them. Invest them in a property, invest them in a business, invest them in a stock, invest them in an ISA, invest them in a watch, etc. Whatever. So many things you can invest in. So save and never touch is you save it and you never touch it. And people say to me, what's the point in saving and never touching? Because then you just save this money and then you die. Nuh-uh. You save it and never touch it to the point where the capital gets big enough that you can live off the income. So if you had £10 million, Sharon, in capital, you should be able to earn 5% on any capital sum invested well and safely. Yeah. So 10 million, 5% of that is £500,000. So if you saved over 30 years, 10 million pounds, the income should be about 500 grand a year, and you could live off that. Or you could live off 5,250 grand a year. So that's why you save it, never touch it. So it grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And it gets to a point where you can invest it safely and you can live off the income.
Got it. Okay, fantastic. So we're at number 10. Okay, which you kind of touched on already. Just the fact that the journey of an entrepreneur is really a roller coaster ride, right? Financially, emotionally, and mentally as well. So I wanted to talk about mental health. You did touch upon it. But I know a number of years ago, you were going through quite a dark place, a really difficult time. I think it was before you became successful. Can you talk to us about that and how you sort of pulled yourself out of those moments? Because you didn't have a therapist, I'm assuming, back then to help you through it. So how were you able to get back on track? And just in terms of wellness overall, what advice can you give to people who are on this journey? Yeah.
So my probably darkest time was 2005. My dad had a massive nervous breakdown. He got beaten up and sectioned by the police. I mean, I felt a lot of intense shame, guilt, self-loathing. And also when I was younger, I was a really overweight kid and I felt quite emotionally bullied. A lot of it was in my head. So how did I get over those things? One is just to go out and use that pain as motivation to go and be successful. Whether it's to lose the weight, I lost all the weight in one summer holiday at school, or turn your life around and get out of debt and make some money, which I did with what happened with my dad. So pain will break you or it will make you. And so I was going to say I chose to use pain to make me, but I had some dark moments, and it wasn't like oh yeah, I'm just going to decide today that, I'm going to use it. Sometimes it took me weeks or months of wallowing and soul searching, but using the pain as motivation is one way to get over any trauma. The other thing is to realize that actually there's greatness in you and about you. And we all have different things that we're great at and different attributes. It might be our sense of humor. It might be our communication. It might be our, we're a great parent. We're a great entertainer. We're a great influencer. It might be our looks. It might be our mind. But we've all got something that we're great at. So honor your own greatness and know that we're all great at something and we're all we're all a master and we're all a disaster at something. And then what that does is it stops you pedestalizing up humanity or putting humanity down. And when we realize we're all on a level, you've got so many things you're so good at, Sharon, that I'm terrible at. And, you know, I've written a lot of books and done a lot of podcasts and done things that, you know, maybe others haven't done as much of. Yeah. So, you know, you and I are equal human beings. You're great at what you've honored. I'm great at what I've honored. You're terrible at what you've never done. I'm terrible at what I've never done. And when we know that, we feel better because we realize we're all just human beings. We're all just doing our best.
Yeah.
But then you have to realize that you deserve greatness. You deserve wealth. You deserve a good life. Everyone deserves to be happy. Everyone is worthy of love. And knowing that you're worthy and not feeling unworthy. So maybe they're the three things.
Okay. I love that. By the way, I love that so many of your quotes rhyme. You're a poet and you didn't know it. Awesome. So I'm going to add on one last question because that was number 10, but I'm going to add on one last question, which is, what would you say is a foolproof way to make a hell of a lot of money? What should everyone be doing right now?
Everyone who wants to make a consistent long-term amount of money with low risk, with low overhead, with not a huge amount of money, and it's their passion and profession, they should turn their ideas into income. They should turn information into a product. They should turn their passion into their profession. That's what everyone should be doing. It could be their contacts. It could be, I'm mentoring Kevin Clifton from Strictly Come Dancing, and we're helping him build a dance school because dance is his passion, and that could be a global school. Amazing. I'm friends with Michael Jackson's ex-bodyguard, and he's got 1,018 martial arts franchises. So he got black belt, and he turned his passion of martial arts into 1,018 franchises across the world. Wow. That is the best way to make money because you also enjoy it. No longer do you have to sell your time to do a job you hate for 1/3 of your life. You don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, I love that. Do you use the law of attraction, by the way? Manifestation. Do you? Is that...
Yeah, I try.
Yeah.
I definitely believe in some serendipity and something more powerful than me as a force.
Yeah.
But I also believe in going and working for it and creating things. So yeah, I maybe believe equally manifestation and creation. Creation is the going and doing it. And then the manifestation is the surrendering and the attraction of bringing it in. I probably believe in them both equally. I think you need them both to really master. I think if you just hustle all the time, that's a bad energy. I think if you just sit and meditate all the time, that's a bit overly optimistic.
Yeah. You talk a lot about just being kind, being happy, and those sorts of things as well, which you don't often hear from entrepreneurs and millionaires. So I love the fact that it's all about balance for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that people ask me what are the top tips you're sharing with your children at the moment. I want them to learn kindness. That's one of the top things. And, you know, when I was in my 20s, I was a hustler and it was all about money. And when I was in the 30s, I was sort of figuring out who I am and where I'm going to be. But in my 40s now, I'm 42, I want to do good things for humanity. I want to make really good friendships. Like my ideal situation is to do a bit of business together and make a bit of money together, but become a good friend and like have someone there that's going to be there for many years. So I've done that with Kevin Clifton and Jake Wood and many famous people who I've become friends with. And me, that's way more important than the money because anyone can start a business and make some money and launch a new product.
Yeah. But
if you can't keep friendships, well, you know, they're hard to get back. So yeah, those things are important to me. And, you know, I've made my mistakes. Maybe I've been too focused on the transaction at times or too hard in the negotiation because you can get like that as an entrepreneur. Or not being selfless enough in my partnerships to look at what the other person can gain. Because sometimes in a negotiation, you're looking at what you can gain. And I'm not a perfect human being. I'm a very imperfect human being. But those are the things I'm working on in my 40s. And I'm definitely doing better at that than I was in my 30s, I think. And that's progress.
Yeah, because there's some people out there who believe that you can't get ahead in business unless you are cutthroat.
Bullshit. I call bullshit on that. It's
Lies.
bullshit.
Yeah.
It might have been in the 1980s, but people can just see through all of that now. And
30
social
years ago,
media,
maybe.
just immediately, you can, you know, like, I could get really angry and go for someone on this live, or be hard on someone, and then that can go viral and millions of people can see it in an instant.
Yeah.
So being cutthroat and hard and winning at all costs, it's not going to work in this. I really don't think it's going to work. I think it's about building meaningful relationships, long-term lasting relationships. No.
Got it. Last question. I'm just trying to squeeze that knowledge out as much as possible. Every last drop. What's the best question anyone's ever asked you on Clubhouse, out of interest? And what do you do when you get a bad question?
I think the best question, I think, across the board, and I ask it sometimes, and we should do a room on this, Sharon, because we could go for hours, is, does money make you happy? Does money make you happy?
Okay.
For me, that's the best question, because I think it's the most misunderstood concept, money, and money and happiness is the most misunderstood concept. And my views on does money make you happy are quite different to a lot of people. So I'd say that's the best question.
What is your view?
That it does.
Okay.
I don't, it's more complicated than that, because money and happiness are actually two separate concepts. So you can be rich and happy, rich and unhappy, poor and happy, and poor and unhappy. You can be any one of those.
Yeah.
So money and happiness are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
And that's the first mistake people make. But I am much happier rich than I was poor.
Yeah.
So my experience is money has made me happier.
Got it.
100%. 100%.
Okay. Yeah. I do agree with you there. I do agree with you. All right. And then how do you handle bad questions? I think that was the last one.
So I try and be respectful of everyone, because maybe someone doesn't know it's a bad question.
Yeah.
So I suppose it depends how bad it is. If it's someone trying to take the Mickey or be a troll or whatever, I'll try a bit of banter. We'll see how it goes. Because why not? You know, you only live once. Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
If it's like, I don't know, just the worst questions actually are the ones that ramble on for 5 minutes and they just talk about themselves for 4 minutes and 59 seconds as in a disguised question.
Yeah.
But I'm still polite and respectful on those, because that person's just going on their own journey. So I think 99.9% of the time I usually handle bad questions okay. Yeah.
You're a patient person.
Well, we're all just trying our best, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much, Rob. Incredible stuff. And we learned so much. Where can we find you? I know you've got 17 books that you've got out there? 2 podcasts? Yeah. Tell us everything, where we can find your stuff.
You can find me here on Instagram, Rob Moore Progressive. You can find me on Clubhouse, Rob Moore. So Rob Moore Progressive or Rob Moore are all my handles. Yeah. You'll find me on all the social channels. I'd probably start with my book, Money, or my podcast, The Disruptive Entrepreneur. That would be the 2 places to get good, deep sources of information on making money and, you know, being an entrepreneur and starting a business.
Got it. Incredible. You are amazing. I'm so proud of you.
So are you.
Thank you.
Clubhouse room.
Yeah, we're going to do our room. I'm going to hit you up offline. I'll hit you on WhatsApp and then we'll figure out like a good topic for our room. I would absolutely love to do that.
We're doing it.
We're doing it with Farokh as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Farokh's in. All right, nice. All right, guys, thank you all for watching. You guys at home or wherever you are, we appreciate you. We love you. Make sure to follow Rob on all his platforms. And Rob, thank you so much again, and I'll see you soon.
Pleasure. Thanks, Sharon.
Look out for our Clubhouse room, guys. Bye, everyone.
See you in Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. Bye.